I'm John Muir Laws. I'm an artist, explorer, and a scientist. And I want to share with you some insights about this painting by Tony Foster. First of all, yeah, you got it. It's huge. This is huge. Now, you may be thinking, like, I've seen big landscape paintings before, right? But here's the thing about all of those big landscape paintings. They were painted in the studio. That's right. So the artist goes out to the field, takes a bunch of notes, brings them back to the comfort of the studio where there is no dust, no wind, no temperatures soaring over 100 degrees, and no windstorms knocking your easel over. Tony painted this by the side of the Grand Canyon over 23 days. And the result is an intimacy with this place that you're not going to find by taking some notes in the field and then trying to transcribe that later in the comfort of your studio. Something that is remarkable about it is the light in this painting. This is early morning light on the canyon. As the sun comes up and peeks into the canyon, lights up the tops of the ridges. That is the best time for seeing the structure of the canyon. This low angle of light casts long shadows, and you can see those projected along here. Notice how the shapes of these shadows defines the forms of the canyon itself. So you can see the canyon snaking back in here because of that shadow. You can see how the shadows themselves, right, will help you to see that, okay, there's this ridge over here, there's this one coming over here, there's a shadow between those. These shadows here on these boulders define this as sort of a cubic form. In a few hours, that sun is going to be overhead. And when it does, all of those shadows are gone. They're bleached out. That overhead light hides the form of the canyon itself. So if you're going to be painting these shadows, the window for doing that is extremely slim. Within a matter of minutes, the rising sun, when it first hits the top of this ridge, that shadow, as the sun gets higher in the sky, imagine the sun is out here, as the sun gets higher, the shadow creeps down the face of this, and when it reaches the bottom, all the form that you get by having those shadows is lost. And that happens in moments. So the time of the day when shadows move the fastest is the early morning and the late evening. That's the time where you've got the most interesting, beautiful light, but it is also the hardest to chase and follow. So what Tony has done is, in the heat of the day, he has mapped in the locations very carefully of every cliff and every plateau, every mesa from this view of the canyon. And he has to be very particular about that. So where it's steep, where it's a flat plain, that's actually a distinction to the steep part is where there are hard rocks that were more resistant to erosion. Those flat plains, those sort of those plains out there, that was a more erodible layer underneath the earth. And yes, underneath the earth, these mountains that you're seeing are all underground. You're standing on the edge of the canyon over here on this side. You're looking out across the canyon. If you were to be able to fly straight out from where you are, you would land on the top of that ridge right there. So this line going all the way across here, that straight line, that is your horizon. That is the projection of your own eye level out across the Grand Canyon. So everything here in the canyon is below eye level. This is the opposite of the regular challenge of drawing a mountain, where there's something rising above your eye level. But here, everything is below it. And because the rocks here are blocky, and there are flat surfaces and walls of canyons. Keeping track of the geometry of this space is particularly important. Let me show you kind of a few subtleties of the angles in the rocks and how that plays a critical role in the perspective that you see. If you were to hold a cube right in front of your face at eye level, you would see the square face of it. As you drop it down, you begin to see the top surface of that cube as well. And that's what's happening here. So as you look out at eye level, everything up here at this level, you are seeing the side of. As you start to look down, lowering the cube, you also start to see more and then more and then more and then more of the top surface of that cube. So as you start to go down here, so notice that, let's just look at these rocks here in this formation. All right, here at the rim level, you're looking at the sides of these rocks. Then as we go down, we are starting to see right here a little bit of the hint of the top of this rock. You go down a little bit further, there's more of the top exposed. You go down even further, more, even more, even more. And then down here, the more you look down, the more you are seeing just the top surface of these rocks here. So as your eye drifts from the horizon line here down to the bottom, the angle at which you see each of these rocks changes. Another thing that Tony has to keep track of here is that these rocks here have a relationship with these ones here. If you imagine hundreds of millions of years ago, there was a giant flat plain. The Colorado River was cutting across that. And as that Colorado River started to incise down, as that land was uplifted, the Colorado River starts to cut down into that. It slices through the top layer of rock. Those were the youngest rocks. The deeper that you go in the earth, the older the rocks get. So here, these are all the same younger rock formation. And as you go down, as you drop down, you get to the next level. So this red level here that you see being picked up here, this was once all one continuous sheet all the way across. And the Colorado River cuts through, but you're now lining this up with this. So Tony also has to make sure that this rock formation is synced up with this rock formation on the other side of the drawing. The parallel rock formations on each side of the Colorado River, he's got to keep those in order. And you're going to be looking down on top of them or looking at the side of that rock formation in the same way on this side as this side. So you notice this sort of tall orange formation here, there's just a little bit of the top here, there's a little bit of the top here. The next one down, you're seeing much more of the top. The next one down, you're seeing much more of the top. So the geometry of this space, the perspective challenges in it are really, really difficult. And that's what he's doing in the scorching heat of the day. When the sun comes above him, he has no shadows, but he can work out, here's the shape of this little rock formation, here's the shape of this rock formation. He mapped the entire canyon out with his pencil, and then would have to get those shadows in to pull out that form very, very quickly. So he wants, when the shadows are doing this here, he wants these shadows over here are going to be doing this. So he has a very short window of time to be able to get all that information in. Such a challenge at this scale. But because he took the time, every little mesa lovingly recreated and mapped in the locations of those shadows, we get this portrait of the place. that just takes us deep into space. The little piece of the Colorado River still cutting this canyon deeper, even as we speak, right there. One last piece of this painting that I want to point out to you that's really fun to explore when you come into the gallery and look at this live. I want to invite you to take a look at this suite of objects. So these were drawn, and so these are objects that you would find on the ground at your feet. And it's interesting that so Tony has chosen to put those in the strip at the bottom. So that's where you would find the found objects of the place, these little kind of intimate moments, these shards of pottery, projectile points. These little intimate moments contrasted with the grandeur of this. They get your brain just flickering back and forth between the closeness of this and the little detail at your feet to then looking back at the big picture here. It's a wonderful contrast and something that I really appreciate about the work of Tony Foster.